here I am now. I'm up and I'm moving. I dance with my beautiful wife and I ski, and I have an 8-year-old daughter. First though, let me explain my history. I'm 50 years old, and I've spent over half of my life living with multiple sclerosis. Growing up, I was always active. Rock climbing, mountain biking, and skiing. Those were my sports of choice. I went to university in Thunder Bay and graduated with degrees in business and economics. I started at a bank in 1993 and planned to run it one day. But things got sidetracked shortly after I started. I had to delay my first posting because my eyes were seriously crossed. I could not drive. My family doctors told me that I had the flu and prescribed me antibiotics. But after a week, when that didn't fix my eyes, I bought an eye patch and drove the 5 hours to Kenora, Ontario. My eyes straightened out after another week, and I was back on track with my banking career. But I later learned that was my first sign of multiple sclerosis. I was transferred to Niagara Falls a few months later and started having difficulties walking straight, and I completely failed a simple balance beam experiment at the Ontario Science Centre. A family doctor again told me that I had the flu. I mentioned these symptoms to a friend of mine, who mentioned them to a friend of hers, who fortunately happened to be Dr. Heather McLean at the Ottawa Hospital. Word came back to me that these symptoms sounded like MS. An MRI was booked right away. More time brought more exacerbations. My symptoms were getting worse. With the MRI results, I made an appointment with Dr. Mark Friedman, and he confirmed that I had MS. By 1998, I moved home to Ottawa, and one day I heard Dr. Friedman on the radio talking about an experimental stem cell transplant. He described it as akin to pricing reboot on the immune system. In fact, it was Drs. Mark Friedman and Harry Atkins' groundbreaking treatment, which today has helped some patients with aggressive forms of MS go from imminent wheelchair use to walking. Coincidentally, I had an appointment with Dr. Friedman later that day. I mentioned that I was interested in the study, and he agreed that I might be a candidate because I was young, generally healthy, and my symptoms were quickly getting worse. I spent most of the next year in my early 30s with Dr. Atkins and Marjorie Bowman, the bone marrow transplant nurse. They tested my physical suitability and mental acceptance of the risks. And yes, there were risks, even death. But I realized that I would never forgive myself if I didn't try. So I would become the second patient in the world to undergo this protocol, a bone marrow transplant for MS, and it was all happening here at the Ottawa Hospital. Marjorie mentioned about possible chemo-induced infertility, and I didn't want to let, I was only 32 years old, and I didn't want to let MS rob me of anything else, just like it had with a regular sporting life and my future leadership role. In November of 2001, the whole transplant process started. It began with a dose of chemotherapy to stimulate and move my stem cells into my bloodstream. A bag of them was collected and cleansed of any traces of MS. 1 month later, it was time for the main event. I was given huge doses of chemo, and I started getting weaker and weaker. I felt like death warmed over. Once the chemo was done and my immune system was gone, I was reinfused with my cleansed stem cells. After several days of getting stronger in the hospital, and after some pleading with Dr. Atkins, he released me on Christmas Eve of 2001. Now fast forward 3 years later, after my transplant, I met Patricia, and we were married in 2005, and our beautiful daughter, Mary, was born in 2010. I joined the Canadian Association of Disabled Skiing, and I was terrible at first. But I'm stubborn, and I refuse to give up. And today, I can ski independently for hours, albeit without rigor for balance. So here we are today. I'm not a bank president, but my life is better than incredible, thanks to the innovative advancements at the Ottawa Hospital. And thanks to Dr. Atkins and Dr. Friedman for keep pushing to find the limits, to find the answers to stop a disease like MS in its tracks. Thank you.